It can be better. It literally can. The reason it's not going better is because people are failing you in office, and that we worship a style of living that doesn't even make the wealthiest people happy. I want you to understand this, that a lot of the wealthiest people have to take antidepressants not to kill themselves. That shows you that this is not the right system, that even the people who win are still losing, right? There are people who are in the Hadza tribe, who are in a hunter-gatherer community, that report higher levels of happiness than the wealthiest people in this country. We live in a parasitic environment, and there's a lot of things that can change, but we have to change what we value, and we cannot continue to have happiness if we value keeping property empty over housing people. We can't be happy and fulfilled while they're homeless kids. So this can all be solved. We have more than enough resources to solve these problems. These are imaginary problems manufactured to push up a number called GDP that is no longer serving us. It is the wrong God to be worshiping. And we need to pay attention to this, especially with AI.
Hey everybody, this is Steven with Sad Money, and I am here with
William Beteet.
Welcome, William. Thank you for the interview. Appreciate it. So we got a couple questions for you today. We wanted to start by asking, do you have any like financial red flags that you look for?
So investing in GameStop, one.
G-me to the moon.
Yeah, right. Dogecoin. I think I like crypto, but if you're heavily invested in Dogecoin, I just don't think it's going to be a fit for us financially long term in the future.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about like in a relationship, or was that like you meant relationship?
Oh yeah, that's what I meant in relationship. But in a relationship, financial red flag. Asking me to buy gifts, that's not, especially if the gift is not an experience. Like, if we're doing it together, that's fine. But if you're asking me for like a ring or jewelry, I'm kind of like, this is not it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you give gifts based on vibes and the person.
Yeah, one of the things I like being in a committed relationship is it's hard to like take someone out on a cool date if it's like the first couple of dates, right? I'm not gonna take you to the Knicks game if I barely know you, but if we've been dating for a while, then we can do cool experiences together, and that's what I like.
This is a hot topic right now. Like, what do you think about remote work? Do you think people should be back in an office or no, or like a mix? What do you think?
So I think that certain teams should be remote. Like sales team doesn't need to be around each other. You know the product, you should sell the product, etc. Accountants don't need to be around each other. I think upper level management should be within the same city, because a lot of like growth for a company happens interspersed throughout the conversations within oh, hey, let me walk down and have a conversation with you. So it's hard to have all that ingenuity happen within the confines of a Zoom call. I don't like how a lot of the most expensive real estate in New York City is reserved for companies that don't want to be there, right? We have homeless people in this city, and all the most expensive real estate is for companies where it's empty buildings. So I think the sooner we turn those into residentials or hotels or something to where people actually get to live there, I think that's gonna be great.
That's a very good point. We were actually gonna ask you how can we ensure everyone has affordable housing in the city? So you feel like that's the solution?
Yeah, so one of the things, I think that's one way. I think also if people are living in the projects, giving them the ability to have some sort of ownership over time. Okay. So a lot of times people have perverse incentives. You live over on 99th Street and it might not be the best apartment, but if you make just a little bit more money in one of the PJs over there, you have to move to New Jersey. Right? You have to move your entire life around. So there's all these bad incentives surrounding where you can live. So I think if you give people in the PJs the opportunity to have a property interest over time, if they're beautifying the area, if they're paying consistently, that eventually that is something that they can have and then pass on within their family and make those places a little bit better for long-term living. I think that helps with it. I think converting some of these new buildings that are empty that no one wants to be in into residentials. I think also having caps on how much landlords can raise rental prices, because I think landlords are ticket scalpers. All right, they're not building shit anymore. They're not building anything, and they're not fixing anything. I lived in a place that had to be closed by the Red Cross, so I understand landlords are not doing anything in New York City to be justified the amount that they're getting paid. So unless they're beautifying or making it better for families to live there, I also think doing just certain initiatives to encourage families to basically be able to live, maybe certain tax incentives for people to be able to have homes and raise their family in the city.
I love that. We need people like you in office
no.
to solve this. It's always the good people who don't want to be in office. They're like, I don't want that. Here's another good question. Student loans, what do you think about them? Should they be completely forgiven or paid off? Just what's your opinion on student loans and the issues we see there?
So I think student loans should be paid off by the government, and I think people who paid off their student loans should be given a rebate. All right, so I think that like why we can somehow find tons of money for a war in Ukraine. We can somehow find tons of money to bail out these banks overnight. I think we can find money to have it so that millennials can and Gen Z can own a home in this lifetime. And I think in terms of the people who paid back the thing, I think that they should be either awarded some sort of rebate or tax incentive to where they don't feel penalized for operating within the system. But finally, I think we should have a system where we put a cap on how much these schools can make. I've been in Germany, I've been in Sweden. Society works out completely fine when education is guaranteed as long as you have the scores to be admitted.
I love that. Yeah. Do you think it would, there's a lot of changes that need to happen here to make it more like a system in Sweden or in Germany? Like, would it be tough to do, or we're not doing it?
I do believe it would be tough to do, but I don't believe that it would actually cost us anything if we started saying, and this is going to sound really intense, but if we started saying, hey, if you're going to have offshore taxes and try to exploit these loopholes, you can't sell in America. You just can't. And deal with not being in the largest market in the world. I know that sounds very intense, but hey, like it's billions and billions and billions of dollars literally sitting around while our schools fall apart, our roads fall apart, people are dying. We are the most productive country in the world, right? People talk about Japanese productivity or German productivity. We have people with their side hustle literally producing more entertainment and needing 3 or 4 extra jobs just to live. We are a productive group of people, and most of our labor is done for free, and we exploit ourselves. So I believe that we'd just be fine if we encourage corporations to pick up the slack and not be able to take away so much money from the communities. I am for taxing businesses like Walmart at a local level rather than at a federal level. You're taking this much money out of this community, well, you're gonna have to pay locally and not be able to obscure the finances and make these weird write-offs. And yeah, I have some other stuff, but I'm not trying to have people in the comments hate me too much.
I think they're loving it.
Yeah.
And I love the side hustle comment. This is Sav Money side hustle right now.
Right here.
We coming at you. What's the worst job you've ever had?
So the worst job I've ever had is being a freelance writer. You're competing against machines. It's very difficult to sum together money, and also trying to get people to buy your product. So you're being a salesperson, you're writing, you're competing against people who are writing by a word for a cent at a time, which is a global thing. And so it definitely was that, and being a stand-up comic. I mean, we're spending money to go work for free, but that's about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, that being said, we feel your pain on the comedy.
Yeah.
Do you think like the minimum wage should be increased? And if so, like to like what level is acceptable? Like, what do you think?
I definitely think minimum wage should be increased. In Copenhagen, you have people working at McDonald's getting paid $25 an hour. It's just weird to me that in New York City, you can have someone working at Chipotle making 100 burritos and then not be able to afford one of those burritos after their shift. Like, I really let that land. I think that we punish the hardest working people in our culture and then tell them that they're not working hard enough. I've been in C-suite stuff. I'm a lawyer by trade. I know how little work people do at their desk job, and I know how hard a lot of postal workers work, construction workers work, people working as cashiers work, and I think that they should be paid more money. I think that it should be done in concert with not allowing landlords to raise how expensive things are to live right after that happens, because that would just negate any gains made.
With that then, like, what do you think about like billionaires? Are they good, bad for the economy, good for the economy? Like, what do you think about them?
So if we were in a tribe and someone was hoarding 100,000 coconuts while other people were starving, what would happen in that tribe? You take a guess?
I think you would either kill that guy or take the coconuts.
You would kill that guy and take the coconuts. And I'm not saying we should kill billionaires. What I'm saying is this is a way of showing the perversion that's happening. And the reason why billionaires are allowed to continue existing is because we have anonymity and distance from the people and the pain that they're causing. So I think, look, here, if you want to get to $1 billion, that's fine. But after that, it's a 99% tax on all of it. And that's put back into the communities that have been most affected by your exploitation. Because how is it that Silicon Valley has made so much trillions of dollars of value, yet life is demonstrably worse for people in all sects of American culture? It doesn't make sense. We have more billionaires than ever, yet people are underemployed. We have record high homelessness with at the same time, record high vacancy available in most places. And so it is just showing that there's a lot of constraining factors. And if a person has $1 billion, he's not taking it from nowhere, he's taking it from people.
Yeah, damn. I love that. Do you feel like couples should be discussing finances, money with each other? What are your thoughts on that? And like when?
I do think that it depends on the city, right? Like, because in New York City, I think you have to pretty quickly because it's such a constraining city that it puts in the forefront. I think if you are in a relationship that's headed in a certain direction, yeah, finances matter, right? The amount of debt you have actually does matter on what kind of life vision we can have for each other. There's a book called Women Have Better Sex Under Socialism. I'm not a socialist, but what I'm saying is this is also a uniquely an American problem. If we were in Germany, this is not as much of an issue because there are safety nets to where, yeah, maybe your finances aren't as big of an issue, but they are here. And so I think it's something that needs to be talked about because it can predict the quality of the type of relationship that you're going to have in the future.
So another interesting topic, kids. Like, do you feel like money, like, do you want to have kids one day, I guess, first?
Yes.
Do you feel like money causes you to really think hard about having kids? Like, is that a big factor in having kids for you?
Yes, it is. It's actually, so I'm a UK citizen and I've explored, like, with my partner, like, talking about, like, hey, do you want to raise a family in Europe rather than here, right? And exploiting some of that, I don't want to use exploit, but, like, raising a family over there, because it's like you have to think about health insurance, you have to think about cost of school, you have to think about all of these other things, and the quality of life is consistently getting worse in America. And so if you're really thinking seriously about kids, you have to think about what are the kids' lives going to be like in the environment you bring them up in, and how much are they going to be punished. Like, there's a big culture around, like, yeah, well, you shouldn't have majored in that thing. That's why you're homeless. In no world should you be punished for majoring in something, but I feel like that is a quality of being an American at this time. Yeah. And we all can't be finance majors because there aren't enough jobs in finance for finance people. Yeah. So, like, it doesn't matter what you major in. Sometimes the constraining factors of our economy are going to probably weigh down your kids in a lot of ways. And if you look at the quality of life for parents, it's terrible in America. We're some of the least happy parents relative to other countries like Portugal, Sweden, Germany, and that's because we punish people for having kids.
My last question is there any like last words or thoughts you just want to leave our viewers with?
It can be better. It literally can. The reason it's not going better is because people are failing you in office, and that we worship a style of living that doesn't even make the wealthiest people happy. I want you to understand this, that a lot of the wealthiest people have to take antidepressants not to kill themselves. That shows you that this is not the right system, that even the people who win are still losing, right? There are people who are in the Hadza tribe, who are in a hunter-gatherer community, that report higher levels of happiness than the wealthiest people in this country. We live in a parasitic environment, and there's a lot of things that can change, but we have to change what we value, and we cannot continue to have happiness if we value keeping property empty over housing people. We can't be happy and fulfilled while they're homeless kids. So this can all be solved. We have more than enough resources to solve these problems. These are imaginary problems manufactured to push up a number called GDP that is no longer serving us. It is the wrong God to be worshiping. And we need to pay attention to this, especially with AI.
Bill, man, I want to say thank you so much. I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate y'all, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate Sad Money.
Yes, thank you. All right. That's it. Sad Money out.